Have you ever seen the movie Wayne's World where Wayne and Garth are backstage at a concert and they meet Alice Cooper and they're like,
"We're not worthy! We're not worthy!"
This week's episode is dedicated to the one and only Tim Grittani. Meet Tim Grittani, arguably one of the best traders of all time, and undisputably one of the most handsome traders of all time. Now, Tim, aka Cry Runner, is famous for now turning a few $1,000s into recently 4 million. He just passed the 4 million milestone. Learning with Tim Sykes. Kaboom. Yes, he regularly gives webinars to help the challenged students, and yes, we are not worthy. This week's episode is dedicated to all Tim Grittani content, the Trading Tickers DVD and the webinars. And I just have to say that did a little bit of research into the Trading Tickers DVD, and it is the most popular and the highest rated video of all time on investimonials.com. Let's dive into this week's episode. I'll see you later. Okay, so this is Trading Tickers, Tim Grittani. I love this DVD. And I love it for two reasons. One, because he reinforces the effort that you need to put in to become a successful trader, tracking stocks like he is here. And two, he makes you realize that it's all about tracking probability rather than looking at it from more of an emotional perspective. It's much more of a probable perspective. And this is one of his favorite short setups, the gap down. When a stock's up a lot and then it gaps down and then it spikes into daily resistance. But I'll let you talk him through it.
The reason I look a lot at gap downs though is because it's a setup I made myself study and track. I used to be the opposite. I used to not be comfortable on gap down days. I used to feel like, oh no, I missed the play, or oh no, the play is ruined. So I put in the work to make myself understand it better. I started tracking plays on a spreadsheet. First I looked at some old gap down plays that I remembered. I wanted to see ones that came back green. I wanted to see ones that faded off all day. I saved charts. I tracked performance. And then I started doing it again at the start of 2015. From scratch. I built some fresh data so I didn't have the hindsight bias in there. And I went through it all again. I put in the work to get a little bit better of a statistical understanding of this setup so that when I saw it in real time, I would feel better prepared and know how I wanted to handle it and not feel like I'd missed my chance to short a big runner. Let's take a look at some of the data I've tracked for overextended gap downs over the past 4 months. Like the spreadsheets we talked about in Chapter 4, I'm tracking a lot of basic stuff. I'm really not going too in depth here. Most of this you can find just by looking at an end of the day chart. If I feel it's an overextended daily chart and I see it gapping down the next morning and at 9:30 the first...
Yeah, I can't let this run too long because the show is only 7 minutes and I want to show you some highlights from the webinar. But it just gives you he later goes on to the findings that he makes through tracking this data, and it's really staggering how much stocks is just purely based on working out if something's probable or not, and if it is, investing money in it to give you that edge. Just a very quick one to add in. It's just Tim Grittani talking about how you need to learn how to read SEC filings, just very basically to see shares outstanding for stocks like DRYS, because DRYS is not going to spike because it's got too many shares outstanding, but a lot of kind of websites are showing the float or the shares outstanding is like 8 million, but it's just not. But I'll let him explain.
That's not going to happen now. Share count is so different. And there's a lot of longs that fall into that trap where they say, oh, well, once the stock managed to run, 500% and down a lot, so I should buy dips because maybe it can run again. And they don't see what's going on behind the scenes, the fact that all these shares get issued, and that potential just doesn't exist anymore. The past week I've been entertaining myself by reading, on Twitter all the on dries, and it's funny, but it's also sad because they have absolutely no idea, and we're kind of in Trump's America right now where you can tell people the facts and they'll just ignore them because
Yeah, and it's just something that you really need to be aware of. Like you need to be reading the SEC filings, learning about them, and I guess that's what you get a lot on the webinars. The kind of the context and the background information. Just one last piece of advice from this Tim Grittani webinar. He talks about how long you should hold a stock and when does the setup break.
That when you buy a lot of these crappy companies, you're basically holding a hand grenade, and you want to get rid of it before it explodes. So it's very hard to be patient when you're holding a hand grenade. Now, I guess the mentality I've tried to take a little bit lately with some of these, and that I've seen other traders say this too. It's always good to pay yourself on some of it, but with the remainder, or maybe with the bulk of your position, if you're long, when would you want to short this stock? Ask yourself that question. Watch this chart develop. And if it's not at a point in the chart where you would start thinking about short selling, why would you sell your long?
Yeah, and I just think that's a great point because I've started paying myself at halfway, like selling half and then holding half. But I'm like, well, when do I give up the other half? And this really clicked for me. Like, well, when does it look like it's going to be a short setup, which I've been studying more lately. And I thought that was invaluable. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed that episode, type the word kaboom in the comments box. That's KABOOM, just so I can gauge who's enjoying the content and who is not. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe. If you want to be friends, break bread, be friends, blah, 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 blah. Here are the social channels. I trade live on Snapchat and Instagram. Twitter is Jonk87 as well. StephenJohnsonStocks.com. My live update on my kind of weekly progress on trading is on Saturday. So until then,
We're not